We are going to talk about what might be the biggest movie in the world at the moment. No, it is not Project Hail Mary. It is this. कई मकामात पर फायरिंग और रॉकेट लॉन्चर के धमाके साफ सुनाई दिए जा रहे हैं। सबसे बड़ा सवाल, रहमान डकैत की मौत के बाद कौन बनेगा लियारी का बादशाह? So you just hear a little bit of gunfire erupting there in the streets, and the question is, who is going to be the next king? That is a moment there from Dhurandhar, The Revenge. It's an action-packed spy thriller that came out last week and is already breaking box office records around the world. Aparita Bhandari has watched the entire thing, so we can talk about it. Aparita, it's good to see you, pal. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Just a little sleep deprived, but you know.
Well, it's because you emerged from that movie, and the movie is
Can I tell you, Elamin,
Yeah.
I was right on my sleep pattern. I had just about gotten it back, just about. And then I was Tuesday night, I went at 8 p.m. to watch a 4-hour long movie.
That's the part we're missing. Is the Dhurandhar's The Revenge is a 4-hour film, and you sat through it, and then you broke your sleep pattern.
I did. At midnight, I was walking the streets of Toronto. Everything is like, nothing is happening. But, you know, in my head, the gunshots and everything that you just played, or, you know, if people saw it, yeah, that was there.
Okay, so you were up way past your bedtime.
Yes.
I really appreciate your kindness. How did you manage? You feel okay? You made it through.
You know, I expect a gallantry award at some point for this.
Hold on. There's also the longest, I think it's the longest intermission that Cineplex has ever offered, right? Which is like
15 minutes.
15
It's the
minute
first time
intermission.
I've seen an intermission at Cineplex. Can you imagine?
Let me just set up the movie real quick here. So I'm going to try to summarize the plot very quickly. An Indian intelligence agent goes undercover to infiltrate Pakistan's political and criminal networks. The movie uses, obviously, real-life geopolitical events to tell the story. This is a sequel to the first part of the franchise, and that came out in December. There's a lot of frenzy about this movie, Aparita, which has been building since the first movie. Can you just explain some of that hype to me? How did we get here?
So, first of all, there was this teaser that came out, which, you know, which featured the title track of Dhurandhar, which also featured, amongst many artists, Hanuman Kind, who was recently on Q on CBC. So it's this really kind of potent mix of, you know, this sort of very high energy music, and then you have one of the biggest stars at the moment in Bollywood in India, Veer. You've got a whole bunch of other stars accompanying him, and this kind of if you look at the trailers, you know, sort of it's kind of like John Wick meets Jason Momoa meets, I don't know, like all sorts of things you can throw at the thing, and you know, things are exploding, imploding, you know, and Ranveer Singh is slow-mo walking with a cigarette, you know, and a machine gun in his hand. So that kind of, you know, high octane, very potent thing came out, and everybody was really curious because this is the guy, the director of a movie that had come out in 2016 called Uri, his debut, which similarly took a real life incident of the attack that India had on Pakistan, Uri, and sort of, you know, cinemized it. You know, it was a cinematic kind of a thing. So people were really excited. What is this going to be about? So there was this huge frenzy. Everybody went to watch it, did gangbusters at the box office. And so there was huge anticipation for that. And because this is now the sequel to that movie, so there was huge anticipation for this.
Let me ask you this. There's been this sort of growing trend towards these really stylized, hyper-stylized, hyper-violent action films. You referenced John Wick. So that's sort of like the reference points there. But that's been a sort of a growing trend in Bollywood. Are you a fan? Like, is that working for you? Are you like, give me more of these, please?
Me personally, no. So when the first teaser came out of Dhurandhar, which did not refer to the geopolitics at all, it was just Ranveer Singh just being Ranveer Singh and just, you know, sort of slashing through stuff and some other stars. I was like, okay, cool, a great action movie. And who doesn't like a great action movie? So, you know, that part I was really intrigued by. But then once, I mean, we've had a whole trend of movies like Animal. There was another movie called Chava, which also similarly takes some incidents from, you know, history of India. So am I a big fan of that trend of this very machismo brand, just lots of violence and gratuitous violence often? No. Am I, like many other Indian fans, finding some kind of relief in heated rivalry? Yes. You know, but, you know, having said that, to your point, this is the biggest film at the moment, not just in India, but in its diaspora, but also outside. Like I'm noticing people who are not Indian maybe are intrigued by the spectacle of it. You know, like, I mean, a film like RRR was really intriguing to a non-Indian audience as well
Yeah.
as like, oh my God, what is this thing
Many
that we're
award
watching?
nominations for RRR as well.
Yeah. So even you know, so the actors performed at the Oscars. So
Yeah.
so that kind of interest is there. So there is a larger interest beyond me, clearly.
Let me ask you this. There's been a lot of discourse around this movie being just like literally just straight up propaganda. Do you want to give me the context behind that conversation? Because I'm missing something a little bit.
So it depends on which side of the political spectrum you are. This is, you know, even if you don't consider this propaganda, if you are somebody who is, you know, attuned with the Hindu nationalist government that is in power at the moment in India, it is a very it's a narrative that could have come out of the, you know, PM, the Prime Minister's office in India, right? So in that sense, a lot of people are like, oh my God, this is straight up propaganda, because it has a very sort of the agenda of portraying the new India. And this is a line that is constantly referenced in, you know, in the director's first movie as well, but, you know, in the first part of this movie and the second part, this idea of an India which is not placid. It doesn't just sit back and kind of, you know, be weak. No, this is going to go into another country and it's going to change the, you know, political kind of landscape over there. And that is exactly what you see happen in this particular movie. So they've taken a lot of incidents that are actually true. Like if you've grown up in India, Pakistan, and, you know, they of course have this huge rivalry that's decades long, that ever since partition basically of the countries. So there is this sort of history. So there are these moments of fact that the movie has taken and then ostensibly fictionalized, but really, like they've barely kind of changed a few words here and there. So, you know, like the former prime minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, becomes Nawab Shafiq in this movie. And the actor employed is a dead ringer. So when he actually comes on screen, everybody's laughing because it's like, it's exactly as if that political person was on screen. So in that sense, you know, that's where the sort of propaganda / Hindu nationalist narrative comes in.
Okay, I should say though, like the idea that Bollywood was sort of veer into politics and patriotism, like that's not a new phenomenon particularly.
No.
But there's maybe something about the dimension of overtness that you're talking about there, and this idea that like, hey, when you're sitting there and you're watching the movie, you said you and your friends were laughing when that moment sort of happens. Is it because of the overtness? Like, how does such an overt political message in a movie like this land for you, do you think?
Well, so it becomes, again, it depends on the political spectrum. Like for me, I was laughing in kind of like, oh my God, I cannot believe this type of a thing. A lot of other people will be laughing in appreciation, you know, like kind of like clapping. I didn't see that, but that's how they might appreciate it. I have some Pakistani friends who were laughing because they're just like, this is just ridiculous, you know? So in many ways, it's kind of like, you know, like how like a lot of late night show talk hosts will talk about Trump and it's like a laugh, but at the same time, there's this ick factor about it. Like it's that same thing. It's like you cannot believe what you're watching on screen, and the blurring of fact and fiction. It's at some point you can't sort of distinguish, well, what is fact and what is fiction. Like it's taken particular moments, like, you know, there's this moment of demonetization, which I was in India when that happened. It was like an overnight thing. Suddenly these, you know, notes were not legal tender anymore. It was like mayhem. None of that is shown on screen. What is shown is this was like part of like a great master plan. So it just becomes this really, it's kind of like these blurring of the lines and you don't quite know what to do with it. So I think our general tendency is to kind of laugh. It's like, what do you do? What do you do in this situation? I don't know. Like when you have ICE making videos of, you know, agents rappelling down, just like a Hollywood movie to kind of sort of, you know, it's the same thing. It's that whole idea of making cinematic these very troubling kind of moments at the moment.
I want to follow up on that because when I say laughing, I don't mean laughing because of comedy. I mean laughing because of sort of like the absurdity of watching this. Because there are a lot of people who are deeply concerned, right? They're concerned watching a movie like this land in this particular political context. So how does this sort of current political climate factor into how this movie is received? Because there are a lot of people who are sort of worried about how overtly political a movie like this is landing right now.
Yeah, you're conflicted about it. I mean, again, depending on your political spectrum. So if you are somebody who is appreciative of the current administration in charge,
Yeah.
just like, your MAGA fans who, no matter how many things, whatever Trump will say, will still believe what he's saying. So it's the similar thing. If you're of that mindset, then for you, this is amazing. This is like a reflection of your reality. It's a reflection of your aspirations. It's a reflection of India as a superpower. Finally, we're on the world stage, right? For other people, it's like, how do you question this? How do you, like, what is it there's that kind of weirdness, like when I watched part one, for instance, there was like, it was deeply troubling because I was like, oh my goodness, like this is trying to make a narrative, like it's trying to make it appealing in a way. But at the same time, I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the songs. I enjoyed all the memes that came out of it. And I suppose, like, in a way, perhaps that's some of the kind of respite that I found. I was like, okay, like there is this narrative that is being laid out, but then there are also other people who are perhaps poking some holes through it, or perhaps sort of pointing out the absurdity of, this ostensible spy in India going into Pakistan and suddenly becoming this sort of linchpin person who, masterminds like a whole bunch of different things on the directions of a spy master in India. It's like, it's some parts of it is just kind of, it is so over the top. You have to really wonder. You have to question it.
Well, given all of that, let me ask you this last question here. Given all of that, but also acknowledging the fact that it's maybe the biggest movie in the world at the moment, like there's just so many people watching this film. What you're laying out there is a bit of a warning of, like, you should know some things. You should be thinking about some things before you even sit down to watch this movie. So what should people be thinking about before they go watch Dhurandhar: The Revenge?
Well, it's just like the previous conversation you just had. Like, there are these narratives that are unspooling in front of you at the moment, right? I mean, it could, like, there's a narrative about domestic violence that is unspooling in front of you. So you, as an audience, need to, in your head, like, okay, fine, be entertained, but also question it. And so similarly, in this case, politically, there are political narratives that are being unspooled in front of us, whether it's through cinema or whether it's through, at the moment, like, again, like, I'll just bring it out to a contemporary reference. You have on the one hand, rather, President Trump saying a various bunch of number of things. You have, on the other hand, the Iranian administration saying a various bunch of other things. Where's the truth? It's somewhere in the middle. So similarly in this, in these movies, yes, there might be, these movies have taken moments of fact. They have fictionalized it. They have altered timelines. There are incidents that happen that are not, if you sit down and fact check, you'll be like, that quite didn't happen at that time or what. So it's up to you to understand that this is a film. It is not real life. And, perhaps in this case, take that disclaimer that comes at the beginning of the movie, that these are inspired by true incidents. This is not a documentary. Take that to heart. And if somebody, WhatsApps you or kind of says, oh, did that actually happen? Kind of say, well, this was a fiction and not documentary. So let's come and unpack what actually happened.
Truly part of the reason we do the show is because one of the most dangerous places you can be is receiving entertainment so passively that you're not even thinking about the thing that you're receiving, which is why we have these conversations. We have you to sort of bring us your insight. So thank you for your time, friend, and thank you for spending 4 hours watching this movie so you can bring this to us. I know. I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful. I really appreciate it. Thanks again, friend.
Thanks, Elamin.
Of course. Good to see you. Aparita Bhandari is a writer and podcaster. Dhurandhar: The Revenge is in movie theaters right now. In the meantime, my name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. We'll be back tomorrow. We'd love to see you then.